India in 2013 was angry. Corruption scandals dominated headlines.
To 3 years of UPA 2's in office, it has been 3 years full of scams, high inflation, dipping growth and policy paralysis.
Inflation was hurting the middle-class families.
High inflation on the back of high food prices is an immediate concern.
Economic growth was slowing, young people were frustrated, and many felt that the government had stopped responding to the speed at which India wanted to grow. At the same time, one leader was rapidly becoming the face of a new political movement, Narendra Modi. But the BJP's rise in 2014 was not sudden. It was the result of years of political strategy, public dissatisfaction, and one of the most aggressive election campaigns India had ever seen. The promise was simple: strong action against corruption, better governance, a stronger economy, a safer India. More than a decade later, did those promises translate into reality? To answer that question, we need to compare the two eras, the UPA India and the NDA India. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The National Security. National security is the foundation on which everything else stands. Between 2004 and 2014, India witnessed some of the deadliest terror attacks in its modern history. The Delhi bombings, the Mumbai train blast, the Samjhauta Express blast, the Hyderabad attacks, the Jaipur bombings, the Ahmedabad serial blast, the German bakery attack, and of course, the 26/11. The 26/11 attacks left 166 people dead and changed India's security discourse forever. In the UPA years, terrorism felt like a recurring national crisis. According to the South Asian Terrorism Portal data, India experienced tens of thousands of terrorism, insurgency, and extremist-related incidents between 2004 to 2013. Then came 2014. Did terrorism disappear? India still witnessed Pathankot in 2016, Uri in 2016, Pulwama in 2019, and continued violence in Jammu and Kashmir. But the pattern changed. Large-scale serial bombings in major metropolitan cities became close to none. SATP data also shows a broad decline in terrorism-related incidents through much of the post-2014 period. So here, the difference is clear. India's national security performance was stronger under the Modi government than under the UPA government. Now let's move on to Chapter 2, Corruption, the issue that shook Indian politics. If terrorism shaped India's fear, corruption shaped its anger. By 2013, corruption had become one of the most dominant political issues in India. The UPA government faced a series of high-profile controversies that dominated headlines for years. The 2G spectrum allocation case, the Commonwealth Games controversy, the coal block allocation case, the Adarsh Housing Society scam, the Augusta Westline helicopter deal controversy. Together, these cases created a perception among the voters that corruption had become deeply embedded in the system of governance. On the other hand, the BJP built its 2014 campaign around the promise of a cleaner governance, accountability and systematic reforms.
भ्रष्टाचार से मुक्ति के लिए वोट फॉर इंडिया, महंगाई से मुक्ति के लिए वोट फॉर इंडिया, भारत की एकता के लिए वोट फॉर इंडिया.
Following its election victory, the NDA pushed for technology-driven governance by reducing human involvement and increasing digital supervision. The direct benefit transfer DBT system transferred subsidies directly into the beneficiaries' bank accounts. Other linked verification reduced duplicate and ghost beneficiaries across multiple welfare schemes. According to government data, DBT helped eliminate millions of duplicate beneficiaries and generate savings running into lakhs of crores of rupees by reducing leakage in welfare delivery. The difference between the two eras were visible in the nature of corruption debate. Under UPA, national politics was dominated by allegations involving allocation, licensing, contracts, and large public expenditures. Under NDA, India did not witness corruption controversies on the scale of 2G, Colgate, or the Commonwealth Games that had dominated the previous decade. For many voters, that shift became one of the defining political differences between the UPA and the NDA eras. So now let's move on to the chapter 3, the economy. Did Modi manage the economy better? The economy perhaps the single biggest reason why millions of Indians voted for change in 2014. When the NDA came in power, India was facing several challenges. The economic growth had slowed down from the high growth years in the mid-2000s. The fiscal deficit was elevated, investors' confidence had weakened, and in 2013, India was grouped among the so-called fragile 5 economies. But what happened after 2014? Modi government focused on stabilizing economy and implementing structural reforms. First major achievement was inflation control. During the months of 2014 to 2024 period, inflation remained sustainably lower than the levels seen in the final years of UPA, despite global shocks such as COVID-19 and the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Secondly, India's position in the global economy improved dramatically. In 2014, India was the world's 10th largest economy, but by early 2020s, India had become the world's 5th largest economy, overtaking countries such as United Kingdom.
India surpassed the United Kingdom to become the world's 5th largest economy.
Third, India witnessed major structural reforms. The goods and service tax created a unified national market. The insolvency and bankruptcy code improved the framework for resolving corporate distress. Startup India helped create one of the world's largest startup ecosystem. Production-linked incentive schemes aimed to boost domestic manufacturing. The result, India emerged as one of the fastest growing major economies in the world. Even after the economic shock of COVID-19, India recovered faster than many advanced economies and continued to post strong growth rates. Foreign investment remained significant, with India becoming a major destination for global capital in sectors such as technology, manufacturing, renewable energy, and digital services. Digital transformation became another major economic story, which we will discuss in the upcoming chapters. Comparing the overall economic trajectory, supporters of Modi government argue that India inherited an economy facing macroeconomic pressure and transformed it into one of the world's fastest growing major economies. Whether the transformation was sufficient, it's the matter of political debate. But the scale of economic reforms and India's rise in the global economic rankings are difficult to ignore. Let's move on to the next chapter, infrastructure. The most visible difference. If there is one sector where every citizen can physically see the change, it's infrastructure. Let's compare. In 2014, India's national highway network was roughly 98,000 kilometers. By 2024, it had expanded to approximately 146,000 kilometers. Highway construction speed increased from roughly 11 to 12 kilometers per day to over 30 kilometers per day. Railway tells a similar story. Rail electrification accelerated dramatically. Electrification moved from relatively slow pace before 2014 to much faster pace post 2014, with most of the broad gauge network electrified by mid-2020s. Airports expanded, expressway multiplied, metro system grew. Supporters call this India's infrastructure decade. Infrastructure became one of the defining themes of post-2014 India. Now let's move on to the next chapter, Digital India, the QR code revolution. In 2014, India was largely cash-driven economy. Paying digitally was the exception. Then came one of the most ambitious digital transformation in India's history. The government launched the Digital India initiative. Bank account expanded through the Jan Dhan Yojana. Aadhaar created a digital identity layer. Mobile penetration exploded, and in 2016, India introduced the Unified Payment Interface, the UPI. In Parliament, former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram questioned whether ordinary Indians would use digital payment system.
Go to your village fair, buy potatoes and tomatoes and pay 7 rupees 50 paisa by a credit card. What will the poor lady do? Does she have a POS machine there? Is it connected to a electricity source? Is there Wi-Fi there? Is the internet working there?
Today, a street vendor can generate QR code and accept payments instantly. A customer can pay with a smartphone in seconds. India now processes billions of UPI transactions every month. What makes this achievement remarkable is not just the technology, it's the reach. Digital payments are no longer limited to major cities. They are used in towns, villages, markets, railway stations, street stalls, and neighborhood shops across the country. Few government initiatives have altered everyday life as visible as Digital India. Whether viewed as an economic reform, a technology success story, or a governance achievement, one fact is difficult to dispute. India's digital economy looks fundamentally different from the India of 2014. Then let's move on to the next chapter, the foreign policy. India steps into the global stage. Before 2014, India's foreign policy was often described as cautious, consensus-driven, and institutional-led. After 2014, India's diplomacy became far more visible. Foreign policy moved from diplomatic corridors into public consciousness. India's outreach expanded across multiple regions simultaneously. Relations with Gulf countries deepened. Strategic partnership with United States, France, Japan, and Australia strengthened. India became an increasingly important participant in the Quad, alongside the United States, Japan, and Australia. The country hosted the G20 summit in 2023, bringing world leaders to New Delhi and positioning itself as a voice of the global South. At the center of this transformation was External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, a career diplomat with decades of experience. Jaishankar became one of the most visible foreign ministers in India's history. His direct communication style, strategic clarity, and assertive defense of India's interest earned international attention.
Somewhere Europe has to grow out of the mindset that Europe's problems are the world's problems, but the world's problems are not Europe's problems.
Under his leadership, India increasingly emphasized a principle that came to define its foreign policy as strategic autonomy. India strengthened ties with the United States without becoming a formal ally. It maintained relations with Russia despite Western pressure. Rather than choosing sides, India sought to maximize its options. This approach became especially visible during the global crisis, including the Russia-Ukraine conflict, where India maintained its independent position based on its national interest. Indian leaders became regular participants in the major global forums, and India's voice carried greater weight on discussions on trade, technology, and security. Whether one attributes the change to Narendra Modi's personal diplomacy, Jaishankar's strategic execution, or broader geopolitical shifts, the outcome is difficult to ignore. A decade ago, India was often seen as a rising power. Today, it is increasingly treated as a major powerhouse whose decisions influence the global conversation. And now, we arrive at the most difficult chapter, jobs. Because roads don't vote, people do. No issues affect ordinary Indians more than employment. The UPI years coincided with a period of relatively strong economic growth, particularly between 2004 and 2011. According to the World Bank data, India's real GDP growth averaged roughly 7 to 8% annually during much of this period, although growth slowed significantly in the final years of the UPA. The expectation was simple: high growth would create high employment. But economists increasingly began discussing a phenomenon called jobless growth. The economy was expanding faster than employment opportunities. Then came a different era. After 2014, the structure of the economy began to change. India witnessed the rise of startups, digital services, e-commerce, fintech, platform-based work, manufacturing incentives through Make in India and PLI schemes. India emerged as the world's third largest startup ecosystem. More than 100,000 startups were officially recognized, more than 100 unicorns were created. Income tax filing rose, digital payments exploded, business registration became easier and more transparent. The government's argument is that employment should not be measured only through traditional job surveys but also through formalization indicators and entrepreneurial activities. And the data does show a significant increase in formal workforce participation. Yet, the challenge remains enormous. India adds millions of young people to its workforce every year. Creating jobs is not enough. Creating enough quality jobs is the real test. The numbers reveal both progress and limitations. India today has larger economy than ever before. Yet, employment continues to dominate political debate because economic growth and job creation do not always move at the same pace. Neither the UPA nor the NDA fully solved India's employment challenge. The UPA delivered rapid growth, the NDA delivered formalization, entrepreneurship, and digital transformation. But still, even after all this, employment remains one of the issues that no government can afford to ignore. Because in the end, voters do not experience GDP, they experience opportunities. And for millions of Indians, the search for those opportunities continues. So, has India changed since 2014? The answer is yes. The roads are different, the railways are different, the payment systems are different, the global image is different, the security landscape is different. But some questions remain. Jobs, agricultural distress, institutional trust, and the challenge of ensuring growth benefits everyone. Perhaps the real question isn't whether India had changed. The real question is how India changed. Because every government inherits a country shaped by those who came before it. And every government leaves behind a country that will be judged by those who come after. Whether India is better today, worse today, or simply different, that decision ultimately belongs to the people. Because in a democracy, the final verdict is never delivered by politicians, it's delivered by the voters. So, comment down your views and don't forget to subscribe my channel. Thank you.